The entire human race faced extinction if the Andorian armada wasn't stopped. Captain Raymond Miller slammed his fist on the console as he listened to the intercepted transmission. That smug bastard Rigor had just called humanity's home a dirt planet the Andorian Empire would soon conquer. Miller's jaw clenched. He'd make sure those alien scum choked on their words. Earth's leaders were done with the charade. For too long, the human race played the part of harmless upstarts, content with a few meager colonies. In reality, a powerful fleet of warships was hidden in the void between stars, preparing, waiting for the day humanity would take its rightful place in the galaxy. That day had come. Faced with an existential threat, Earth could stay silent no longer. The decision was made to reveal the hidden fleet's existence. Rhaegor's invasion plans were now impossible. The Andorian leader flew into a rage upon seeing the broadcast. He declared a war of extermination against the humans and vowed to seize their ships. Little did that alien scum know, humanity would rally like never before. Every man, woman, and child on Earth saw the fleet as a symbol of defiance against an uncaring universe. Countless volunteers flooded recruitment centers, ready to lay down their lives to defend their species. Miller received word of his promotion. He was now commander of the flagship EDS Retribution, most powerful vessel ever built by human hands. His orders were clear: engage Rhaegar's forces and show the galaxy what humans were made of. No mercy. As Miller's ship entered warp, speeding toward the front lines, the survival of his entire species hung in the balance. Earth had reached out to other races threatened by Andorian aggression, seeking allies against a common foe. Back home, Earth's president gave a rousing speech. "We may live on a planet of dirt," she declared, "but we will fight to the last man to defend it." The stage was set for a battle that would echo through the ages. Miller would need every ounce of human ingenuity and courage to outwit Rhaegar's superior numbers. He gripped the armrests of his command chair, knuckles white, as enemy ships appeared on the horizon. This was it. Time to show those Andorian bastards what it meant to be human. The stars streaked past the bridge view screen as the EDS Retribution hurtled through the void at faster-than-light speeds. Commander Raymond Miller watched the mesmerizing display, his mind racing with strategies and contingencies for the coming battle with the Andorian fleet. Suddenly, the comm officer's voice broke through his concentration. "Sir, we're receiving an urgent distress signal from a nearby system. It's the Zephyrians." Raymond's head snapped up. The Zephyrians, a peaceful but technologically advanced race, had long been a thorn in the Andorians' side. Rhaegar had always coveted their territory and resources. "Put it through," Raymond ordered. The view screen flickered, revealing the haggard face of Aldrich, the Zephyrian leader. "Commander Miller, I pray this message reaches you in time," Aldrich began, his voice strained. "The Andorians have launched a surprise attack on our homeworld. Rhaegar's lieutenant, Zorgax, leads the assault. Our defenses are crumbling. We need your help." Raymond's first officer, a grizzled veteran named Hawkins, leaned in. "Sir, if we divert now, we'll miss our window to engage Rhaegar's main fleet." But Aldrich's next words caught Raymond's attention. "In exchange for your aid, we offer an alliance and access to our cloaking technology. Please, Commander, you may be our only hope." Raymond weighed the options, his mind spinning with the potential ramifications of each choice. Finally, he made the call. "Helm, set a course for the Zephyrian homeworld. Maximum warp." As the Retribution dropped out of warp on the outskirts of the Zephyrian system, the scale of the battle became clear. Andorian warships swarmed around the planet like angry hornets, pounding the Zephyrian defenses with relentless plasma fire. "All hands, battle stations," Raymond barked. The human fleet surged forward, catching the Andorians off guard with a volley of high-yield torpedoes and precision beam weapons. For a moment, it seemed the tide was turning. But Zorgax was a cunning adversary. The Andorian commander quickly adapted his tactics, exploiting gaps in the human formation. Raymond gritted his teeth as damage reports flooded in from the battered human ships. "Sir, the Zephyrian ground forces are taking heavy casualties," the comm officer reported. They're making a last stand in the capital city, but they won't hold out much longer. Raymond knew what he had to do. Prep my combat gear and assemble an elite marine unit. We're going planetside. As the dropship screamed through the atmosphere, dodging anti-aircraft fire, Raymond rallied his troops. Listen up. We're going to link up with the Zephyrian defenders and take the fight to the Andorians. Failure is not an option. The Marines hit the ground running, plunging into the chaotic urban battle. Plasma bolts crisscrossed the rubble-strewn streets as Raymond led the charge towards the central citadel. Inside the battered structure, Aldrich greeted Raymond with a mix of relief and desperation. Together, they pored over hollow maps of the city, searching for a way to turn the tide. There, Raymond pointed. If we lure the Andorians into this sector and then flank them through these side streets, we can catch them in a crossfire. The plan worked to perfection. The combined human and Zephyrian forces outmaneuvered the Andorian shock troops, driving them back block by block. But as the battle neared its climax, Zorgax himself took to the field. Raymond found himself face to face with the towering Andorian commander, locked in a brutal hand-to-hand struggle. Zorgax was strong and fast, his blows fueled by a lifetime of combat. But Raymond fought with the desperate strength of a man defending his very species. In the end, it was Raymond who emerged victorious, standing over Zorgax's broken body as the Andorian forces scattered in disarray. Bolstered by the planetside victory, the human and Zephyrian fleets rallied in orbit, pushing back the Andorian ships until Zorgax's armada was forced to flee the system. In the aftermath, the Zephyrian Council pledged their full support to the human alliance. News of the victory spread like wildfire across the galaxy, stoking the flames of resistance against Andorian aggression. But even as he accepted the Council's thanks, Raymond knew this was only the beginning. Rigor would not take this defeat lightly. The war was a long way to go. Troubling news awaited Raymond upon his return to the Retribution. Earth's government, it seemed, was not united in its determination. Some factions were pushing for a diplomatic solution with the Andorians, even after all that had transpired. Raymond was soon faced with new orders: to attend a summit between human, Zephyrian, and Andorian representatives on neutral ground. The goal was to find a compromise, a way to end the conflict without further bloodshed. But as Raymond prepared for the journey, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Were the Andorians really interested in peace? Or was this just another ploy to catch humanity off guard? Only time would tell. Commander Raymond Miller stepped into the austere conference room, his eyes scanning the assembled delegates. The Zephyrian representatives nodded respectfully, but it was the Andorian contingent that drew his focus. At their head stood Rigor, the alien leader's cold gaze boring into Raymond. "Welcome, Commander," Rigor said, his voice dripping with false cordiality. "I trust you're ready to discuss terms." Before Raymond could respond, a shrill alarm pierced the air. The station shuddered as massive shapes materialized around them, Andorian battleships, their weapons trained on the defenseless diplomats. "What is this?" Raymond demanded, reaching for a sidearm that wasn't there. Rigor's lips curled into a sneer. "This, Commander, is the day the human race learns its place." Andorian soldiers poured into the room, disarming and restraining the shocked humans and Zephyrians. Raymond struggled against his captors, but it was futile. "You won't get away with this," he spat. Rigor laughed. "I already have. Your planets will surrender, or we'll execute every last one of you." As they were marched onto Rigor's flagship, Raymond's mind raced. He had to warn Earth somehow. While the guards were distracted, he activated his neural implant, sending a coded burst transmission. Seconds later, an Andorian jammed all outgoing signals. On Earth, the message sparked chaos in the war room. General Hayes pounded his fist on the table. "We can't abandon them!" "If we attack Rigor, we'll kill the hostages," Admiral Chen countered. "We must negotiate." As the argument raged, Lieutenant Alex Bowers stood quietly in the corner, his mind working overtime. He approached the holomap, pointing to a gap in the Andorian fleet movements. "Sir," he said, "I have a plan." Hours later, Bowers crouched in the cockpit of a stolen Andorian shuttle, leading a strike force of Earth's deadliest operators. They warped into enemy space, sensors dark, relying on captured cloaking tech to mask their approach. For days, they drifted silently through the void, evading patrols. Finally, they spotted Rieger's flagship rendezvousing with the invasion armada. "This is it," Bowers whispered. "Breach teams, go." They maneuvered towards the Titanic warship, aiming for a vulnerable docking port. Suddenly, alarms blared. They'd been spotted. "So much for stealth," Bowers muttered as plasma bolts streaked past. "All units, weapons hot." The shuttle bay erupted in chaos as Earth's finest clashed with Andorian defenders. Bowers ducked behind a crate, returning fire as he shouted into his comm. "Alpha team, push for the bridge. Beta with me to the brig." They fought tooth and nail through the labyrinthine corridors, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. In the holding cells, they found Raymond and the other captives. "About time you showed up," Raymond grinned, accepting a spare weapon. "Couldn't let you have all the fun, sir," Bowers replied. Back on Earth, the situation grew dire. Andorian ships bombarded Mars' defenses, pushing inexorably towards humanity's homeworld. Evacuation ships streamed from the surface as Earth's navy fought desperately to buy time. Admiral Chen watched grimly as another cruiser fell to Andorian fire. "Where the hell is Bowers?" he muttered. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance as the battle raged on multiple fronts. In the heart of the enemy flagship, Earth's last hope fought to turn the tide before it was too late. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as Lieutenant Alex Bowers and his team pushed forward through the winding corridors of Rieger's flagship. The acrid smell of ozone filled their nostrils as they traded fire with the elite Andorian guards. "Watch your six!" Bowers shouted as he ducked behind a bulkhead, narrowly avoiding a volley of enemy fire. In the holding cells, Raymond Miller heard the chaos erupting outside. As the guards rushed to respond, he saw his chance. With a swift motion, he disarmed the distracted Andorian nearest to him and used the alien's own weapon to stun him. "Now's our chance," Miller called out to his fellow captives. "Let's show these bastards what humans are made of." The prisoners, a mix of humans and Zephyrians, sprang into action. They overwhelmed the remaining guards through sheer numbers and desperation. Miller led the charge, his eyes blazing with perseverance as they fought their way to the armory. "Grab everything you can carry," he ordered as they ransacked the weapons cache. Meanwhile, Bowers and his team found themselves pinned down by increasingly heavy fire. Suddenly, the Andorians attacking them from behind fell silent. Miller emerged from the smoke, a captured Andorian rifle in his hands. "Looks like you could use some backup," Miller grinned. "Glad to see you, sir," Bowers replied. "We need to get to the bridge and stop this invasion before it's too late." On the bridge, Rieger received word of the breakout. His lips curled into a sneer as he activated the ship's intercom. "Deploy the Vanguard," he growled. "Crush these human vermin." The corridors of the massive ship became a war zone as Miller and Bowers led their combined forces towards the bridge. They clashed with Rieger's personal guard, towering Andorians with enhanced strength and reflexes. "Watch out!" Miller yelled as one of the super soldiers tossed a human marine across the room like a rag doll. He emptied his rifle into the beast, but it kept coming. Bowers rolled a grenade down the hallway, the explosion finally dropping the monstrosity. But more were coming. "We can't keep this up forever," Bowers panted. Miller's mind raced. They needed a way to breach the final defenses around the bridge. An idea struck him, a risky move. "I've got a plan," he said, "but you're not going to like it." Moments later, Miller allowed himself to be captured, secretly carrying high-yield explosives. As he was dragged before the bridge doors, he triggered the detonator. The blast rocked the entire deck, shredding the heavy doors. Through the smoke and debris, Miller and the surviving humans charged onto the bridge. Rieger stood waiting, his massive frame silhouetted against the stars. "I will crush your pathetic world to dust," he snarled. Miller met the Andorian leader's gaze. "Not if I have anything to say about it." With a roar, Rhaegar charged. The two leaders clashed in a brutal, primal struggle as the battle raged around them. Despite Rhaegar's superior strength, Miller's fierce dedication kept him in the fight. Finally, seeing an opening, Miller landed a crushing blow. Rhaegar staggered back, stunned. In that moment, Miller seized a fallen weapon and fired, downing the Andorian tyrant. "Bowers now!" Miller shouted. Alex Bowers leapt into action, his fingers flying across the alien controls. He sent the all-clear signal to the hidden Retribution fleet. Outside, space itself seemed to ripple, as human and Zephyrian ships decloaked, catching the Andorian armada in a devastating crossfire. Confusion reigned as the invaders found themselves suddenly outflanked and outgunned. On the bridge of the captured flagship, Miller watched with grim satisfaction as the Andorian fleet broke apart, scattering in disarray. The Retribution's guns hounded them mercilessly as they fled into the void, pursued by the combined might of human and Zephyrian warships. The bridge of the captured Andorian flagship erupted in cheers as the last enemy vessels vanished from long-range sensors. Commander Raymond Miller slumped into the captain's chair, exhaustion etched on his face. "Stand down from battle stations," he ordered, his voice hoarse from shouting commands, "and get me a secure line to Earth Command." Lieutenant Alex Bowers approached, his uniform scorched and torn. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Retribution. Admiral Chen wants a full debrief." Miller nodded, rising to his feet with a grimace. "Tell him we'll rendezvous at the preset coordinates. It's time we decide our next move." Hours later, the War Council convened aboard the EDS Retribution. The ship's briefing room buzzed with tension as military leaders and diplomats from a dozen worlds crowded around a massive holotable. Miller stood at the head of the table, his eyes blazing. "We have the Andorians on the run. Now's the time to press our advantage and end this war once and for all." Bowers nodded in agreement. "Our intelligence suggests their fleet is in disarray. A swift, coordinated strike could cripple their ability to wage war for generations." Murmurs of assent rippled through the human contingent, but Aldrich, the Zephyrian ambassador, raised a hand for silence. "While I appreciate the commander's eagerness, we must not be hasty. Our alliance is still fragile, our defenses not yet fully rebuilt." The Zephyrian military attaché chimed in. "A protracted conflict may serve us better. We can fortify key systems, expand our production capacity, and slowly grind down the Andorian war machine." The debate raged back and forth, neither side willing to concede. Miller pounded his fist on the table. "Every day we wait gives the enemy time to regroup." Suddenly the ship's klaxons blared. A young sensor officer burst into the room, his face pale. "Sirs, you need to see this." The holotable flickered, displaying a vast star field. At its edge, a roiling mass of energy coalesced into existence. From within this entropy rift, ship after ship emerged, if they could be called ships at all. Grotesque biomechanical monstrosities filled the sensors, their hulls pulsing with sickly energy. "By the gods," Aldrich whispered. "What are they?" Before anyone could respond, the alien vessels opened fire. The holograms showed scenes of carnage as the unknown invaders tore through everything in their path. Andorian outposts, human colonies, neutral stations, all fell before the relentless assault. The Council watched in horror as entire fleets were reduced to atoms in a matter of minutes. These entropy ships moved with terrifying speed and coordination, adapting to every tactic thrown against them. A priority transmission cut through the chaos. To everyone's shock, Rhaegar's face appeared, the Andorian leader looking shaken for the first time. "Attention, Allied forces. We request an immediate ceasefire." Miller's teeth clenched. "What game are you playing, Rhaegar?" The Andorian's eyes darted nervously. "This is no game, human. My agents have uncovered ancient records speaking of entropy-based machine races that nearly wiped out all sentient life eons ago. These invaders match the descriptions perfectly." Rhaegar's voice grew grim. "We stand no chance against this foe alone. I formally propose an alliance to confront this greater threat. The survival of all our species depends on it. Stunned silence filled the room. Miller and Bowers exchanged disgusted looks, the thought of working with their hated enemy turning their stomachs. But Aldrich stepped forward, his expression grave. "We have no choice," the Zephyrian said quietly. "If even half of what we've seen is true, we must put aside our differences or face extinction." Miller clenched his fists, every fiber of his being rebelling against the idea. But as the horrific footage continued to play, he knew there was only one path forward. "Patch me through to Rhaegor," he growled. "It's time to talk strategy." As the unlikely allies began to plan, reports flooded in of entropy ships pushing deeper into inhabited space. The galaxy trembled as an ancient nightmare returned, and the race to save all sentient life began.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.